Look closely at how we experience conflict today. A contract falls through, a market shifts, an essential employee unexpectedly leaves, a competitor copies your design. In a single shattering instant, your chest tightens, your mind begins to race. Any wave of deep, exhausting stress floods your body. Without a second thought, you instantly label the event as a disaster, a catastrophe, something fundamentally bad. You believe the event itself is causing your pain. But if you peel back the layers of your emotional narrative, if you strip away your personal history and your immediate panic, you are forced to confront a radical, deeply unsettling truth. The event itself possesses no inherent quality. It is completely neutral. Reality is simply taking place. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus laid the foundational bedrock for this psychological freedom centuries ago. He wrote, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." Think deeply about that distinction. An event occurs outside of you. It rains down on your life just like the storm outside. It is raw data. It has no tone, no malice, and no inherent meaning. It is merely a shifting of shapes in the physical world of form. But the exact moment that data touches your consciousness, you run it through a complex filter of past programming, personal desires, ego attachments, and deep-seated fears. You create a secondary layer of reality, a heavy psychological simulation, and it is within that internal simulation that you actually suffer. You are not fighting the world. You are fighting your own toxic commentary about it. You blame the rain, but it is your choice to stand in the storm without an umbrella. In the 20th century, the radical philosopher Jiddu Krishnamurti approached this exact same human glitch from a completely different angle. He called it the artificial split between the observer and the observed. Krishnamurti pointed out that our minds are almost never in direct contact with actual facts. Instead, we live in contact with our opinions of the facts. We don't see the person. We see our memory of the person. We don't experience the crisis. We experience our fear of the crisis. We live in a world of labels, entirely insulated from the raw texture of reality. He suggested that if a major problem arises in your life or your business, the factual problem itself is rarely the source of your deep exhaustion. The true exhaustion comes from your constant, frantic psychological resistance to it. He wrote, "The description is not the described. The word is not the thing." When you label a situation as bad, unjust, or ruinous, you instantly freeze a fluid reality into a fixed, rigid concept. You create an internal battlefield. There is the factual situation on one side, the raw reality of what has happened, and on the other side, there is your frantic internal voice screaming that things should be different. This psychological division is an immense, tragic waste of your creative energy. You spend hours haunting your own mind, replaying dead scenarios, nursing bitter resentment, or running from the phantom of future failure. The situation itself required a simple, clean, tactical action, but your emotional commentary turns that simple action into a heavy, exhausting war. You mistake the mirror for the object, and you bleed over a mere reflection. When we return to the Roman Stoics, we find the practical, battle-tested framework required to break this mirror of distortion. Marcus Aurelius sat in a lonely military camp during a devastating plague, fighting a brutal border war, and wrote these words to his own mind. "Remove the judgment, and the I am hurt is removed. Remove the I am hurt, and the hurt itself is gone. Think of a ship at sea during a massive torrential downpour. The storm is immense. The waves are crashing over the bow, and the wind is howling. The ship does not sink because of the water surrounding it. It sinks because it allows the water to get inside. This is not passive compliance. This is not toxic positivity or pretending that everything is perfect. This is ruthless, high-performance psychological clarity. The Stoics recognize that your mind is the only territory you actually possess absolute sovereignty over. If you allow external conditions, market drops, or human betrayals to dictate your internal state, you are effectively handing over the keys to your life. You become a helpless victim of circumstance, tossed around by every passing cloud. When a crisis lands on your desk, the definitive Stoic move is to immediately separate the event from the judgment. You look at the landscape and you say, "This is what has occurred. These are the raw parameters." You don't color it with grief. You don't decorate it with anxiety. You drop the arrogant psychological demand that reality must always conform to your comfortable expectations. By accepting what is without immediately slapping a defensive label on it, you preserve your energy. You don't burn out from the weight of the event. You burn out from the weight of your unexamined assumptions. Imagine the immense competitive advantage of operating from this state of clean, unclouded consciousness. While the rest of the world is paralyzed by panic, caught in a frantic cycle of blame, anger, and narrative distortion, you are looking at the landscape with total sobriety. You see things exactly as they are, not as your fears or your ego wish they were. You are able to make decisions based on cold facts, while your competitors are picking decisions based on internal ghosts. When your sense of internal peace is no longer dependent on external conditions being flawless, you become genuinely dangerous. You move completely out of the fragile world of gain and loss, and you tap into a deep, unwavering stability. You honor every situation. You bring your full presence to the problem, but you deeply understand that nothing on the shallow surface of form can diminish the underlying truth of who you are. The storm rages on the outside. The rain crashes against the concrete, but inside your mind, there is only absolute, unshakable space. You have protected the interior of the ship. The world you see is not the world as it is. It is the world as you are. If you look through the glass of fear, every change looks like a threat. If you look through the glass of pride, every delay looks like a personal failure. But if you break the glass entirely, if you step back into pure awareness and simply observe the mind trying to paint its anxious narratives, the noise finally stops. For the remainder of this day, watch your labels. When a situation arises, don't rush to call it a victory or a defeat. Just look at the fact. Leave the story behind. Let the rain fall. This is Neon Silence. Join the silence.